Hi, how's everyone doing this morning? My name's Trent. So today I'm going to be talking about something that I'm sure everyone has dealt with. I'm going to be talking about almond milk and dairy milk. So I know everyone's grown up, and my main proposition is almond milk is a healthier alternative to dairy milk. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to be going over the process of how dairy milk is made and then how almond milk is made and some of the benefits and negatives of both processes. Next, I'll be talking about the negative effects of consuming dairy milk. And then next, I'll be talking about the benefits of consuming almond milk. So let's start with how dairy milk is made. So I'm sure only the cows out in the farm are probably the only cows that some people saw on their way to school today. So usually dairy milk, obviously comes from a cow, and they have to milk it. And the way cows produce milk is they always have to be having baby cows. So that's the way they produce the milk. So sometimes cows are just bred to produce milk. So when you get the milk, the condition of the milk may not always be as prime as maybe a cow that just started producing milk. So they keep them alive or keep them going on producing milk and calves to keep them going because they don't want to lose that cow. It may be good for milk, and then they're not always like that. And then some cows, I guess, are used for steak and whatnot. So after they get the milk, they have to go through this process called pasteurization, which is when they heat all the milk up to a certain temperature for a certain period of time, and then they let it all cool down. And that's so they get rid of all the bacteria and destroy some pathogens that are harmful to human consumption. So right after the milk is made, you can't just drink it. They gotta get rid of bacteria. And also, what the pasteurization also does is it kills some undesirable enzymes and spoilage in the bacteria that can also be harmful to you and the intake of the dairy milk if the pasteurization process isn't done correct. So that's one of the biggest dangers of it. So now let's get into the process of almond milk. So all you gotta do is get a couple almonds. You soak the almonds. Next thing you know, you gotta drain and rinse them. You combine the almonds with the water. You blend it together, strain it, press all the almond milk together, sweeten it. I prefer unsweetened almond milk, that's just me. And then you throw it in the refrigerator. So a little more of an organic process with that. In California, we're the biggest producers of almonds, so the almond quality that we get from here is pretty good. Next, let's go on some negative effects of dairy milk. So there's a couple of factors that come with consuming dairy. In a couple observational studies in mass population and single populations, higher dairy intake has been linked to an increased risk of prostate cancer, and that was in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. The title of that was Should Dairy Be Recommended as Part of a Healthy Vegetarian Diet? So another effect of dairy is some cohort studies have shown higher dairy intake is linked to higher ovarian cancer risk. That was also in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. Also, dairy has been shown to promote increased cholesterol levels as well. So, there's a couple of things that are already coming along. Higher cancer risk, cholesterol goes up with the higher dairy intake. That was also in the Journal of American College of Nutrition. That was in 2007. Another negative effect is more dairy has a higher rate of multiple sclerosis in countries. So, the more milk you drink, the more chance you have of getting multiple sclerosis. That also is in the correlation between milk and dairy product consumption and multiple sclerosis prevalence, a worldwide study in 1992. One more negative effect of cow's milk protein may trigger type 1 diabetes through a process called molecular mimicry. That was in the diabetes care relation between cow's milk consumption and incidence of IDDM in childhood. Let's go to the positive effects of consuming almond milk. Almonds are natural and are naturally rich in several vitamins and minerals, especially vitamin E. Even though almonds are 50% fat and high in calories, commercial almond milk is usually a low-calorie beverage. Almond milk is also high in fat and protein relative to its carb content, so it's good for people who are diabetic because it won't spike blood sugar levels, as well as those who are on a low-carb diet. And then here's some really good stuff about almond milk that helps you. Some studies have shown that they reduce the risk of heart disease because they're high in vitamin E, contain healthy fats. That was from the effects of nuts on coronary heart disease risk, Nutrition Review 2001. and that was also reviewed by the public medical. And then also, one study in healthy adults showed that eating 66 grams of almonds or almond oil every day for 6 weeks reduced their levels of bad LDL cholesterol by 6% and triglycerides by 14%, as well as increased their good HDL cholesterol by 6%. Almonds and almond oil have similar effects on plasma lipids and LDL oxidation in health in men and women. That was in the Journal of Nutrition in 2002. And then also, 1 cup of almond milk contains only 39 calories, which is the amount of, which is half the amount of calories found in 1 cup of skim milk. So the calories are also very low in almond milk. So the conclusion is that with the negative effects of dairy milk and also the risk of the pasteurization not always going bulletproof, and the positive effects of consuming almond milk and the organic process of it, almond milk is a safer alternative to dairy milk. And hopefully next time you want to make some cereal or cook, you grab the almond milk instead of the dairy milk. That's it.
All right, well, the propositions identified at the beginning of the speech, you sort of rush through the preview material, and a lot of it, when you're presenting it, is phrased in a way that makes it sound like you're doing an informative comparison rather than an argumentative claim about the advantages of one over the other. So you want to be a little bit careful about the phrasing there to make sure that we know that you're making a declarative statement and you're not simply presenting information for us to make a decision on. You have to have a point of view, and you need to be the advocate of that point of view. The whole first section talking about how dairy milk is produced and how almond milk is produced, that just feels like background information. That probably could have been reduced, used as an introduction, give it to us before you get to the proposition, and then get to your argument. Your argument really starts when you were suggesting to us that dairy milk has some problems associated with it that make it less suitable for us to consume than almond milk. And some of the stuff that you talk about in that first section, where we're talking about how it's produced, and cows end up being pregnant, or they turn them into steak, or and I don't know why that's there. It doesn't get you anything. It just feels like it's completely out of place. And you talk about pasteurization at one point, and then you said it could go wrong, but you've never got any proof that anything goes wrong with pasteurization. So none of your argument is concerned with that. So that feels like it's irrelevant information. Your most relevant information comes when you're talking about the potential health consequences of consuming milk. And you start making references to studies that connect it to prostate cancer or breast cancer, cholesterol levels, that sort of thing. And I think that there's good information here, but sometimes the information is so cryptic and brief that it's hard to evaluate. I don't know that I'm getting very complete quotes there. I think I'm getting the conclusion, and at best, like the very brief conclusion of the information that's going on there. And you would gain greater credibility if you could show us, that there are levels or like percentages of risks that go on there. All I know is that there's a link or a correlation, which doesn't necessarily prove causation. And as we're going to be talking about, there could be lots of other things that could influence those things. And some of the data is kind of, frankly, old, so it doesn't seem like anybody's worried about it that much since 1992 and 2001. So I'm wondering, well, if this is so clearly true, how has it not had any effect on people's habits? Have we not been adequately informed about these things, or is it just something that somebody found this result one time, but it hasn't been replicated, it hasn't been followed up on? It seems like there's a lot of time has passed on a couple of these points. The almond milk benefits, there is some information here that I think that does show that there are some benefits to consuming certainly nut products. I don't know that it has to be in the form of almond milk, for instance. If we're talking about 66 grams of almonds to reduce the bad cholesterol, I don't know how many almonds that is on a daily basis, but I think that I've been hearing that from those guys in the almond commercials, Blue Diamond almonds, a can a week, that's all we ask. And I'm going, okay, well, that doesn't sound too bad. I don't have to drink a gallon of milk every week. I could just eat a can of almonds and get that benefit. I don't know how much 66 grams represents and how much you would get from a serving of almond milk to solve those problems. You got to kind of connect the dots a little bit more there. I was a little iffy at first on this point because it's presented originally as some studies have found this. You got a little bit more specific, and I appreciate that. You always want to be particular when you're citing a study that you're going to base an inference on, that you've got some detail on that source so that you can show us that. And the calorie and nutritional comparisons are okay, although they don't seem to necessarily deal with the same issues that are being talked about on the first point. I don't know if there's been any follow-up, for example, tracking the consumption of almonds, and which, as you acknowledge, are high fat and high calorie, to some of the same problems that we're talking about here with milk. Because that's the comparison that you're making. So where's the evidence that says that almond milk doesn't have the cholesterol producing effects, that there is no link to cancer on those particular things? That's what you started off on the first point on, so that's kind of what I'm looking for the comparison on. The other advantages sound like they are good things, but do they eliminate the bad things that you're telling us that dairy milk presents to us? And I think you need to have a little bit more information that shows those sorts of things. All right, thank you.